Welcome back to PHIL 2103, Introduction to Philosophy and Ethics. This video is going to cover some key terms that you're going to need to know. It's important to note that in your course files on D2L, there is a file labeled Companion and Study Guide. In an upcoming quiz that you're going to have with matching terms on it, that Companion and Study Guide is where you're going to find many of the terms that you're going to need to know. So it would be a good idea this week to familiarize yourself not only with where that file is, but some of the terms that you see on there. Allow me to point out just a few key terms that we need to know for this ethical, moral journey. And the first thing we need to understand is what is the difference between morality and ethics. In this, morality is the actual content of right and wrong, and it has to do with moral knowledge. The opposite of this, or the other side of this, would be ethics, which is not the actual content, but a process of determining what is right and what is wrong. So note the difference in there. Where morality is the actual content of what is right and wrong, ethics helps us determine what is right and what is wrong. And ethics deal with moral reasoning as opposed to moral knowledge. This is based out of two other key terms we're going to need to know. The first of these is deontological systems. This is based on principles in which actions are inherently right or wrong. So for example, a question to ask yourself would be, is it inherently right or wrong to kick a dog? Some would say, absolutely it is. How dare you? Others would say, well, it depends on the circumstance. How you answer that question shows whether you're going out of a deontological system. Typically, religion would fall into the deontological side of things. There is an ultimate authority that says this is right and this is wrong, outside of what man's reasoning would be. The next would be teleological systems. A teleological system is based on the end results produced by an action. And in this, the ends may justify the means. So what that is to say is, if you got the result you were looking for, it doesn't matter how you got there. If you had to lie, cheat, and steal, but you saved hundreds of lives as the ultimate result, then that lying, cheating, and stealing becomes lesser of importance than that ultimate result. That is a teleological or goal-based system. The next term you're going to need to understand is one that we've encountered briefly in the past, and that is utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is the action that produces the greatest good for the greatest number of people is the correct or ultimate choice. Again, the greatest good for the greatest number of people says that there is a way of quantifying this and saying this action here is good for 100 people but is going to hurt 5,000 people. Whereas this action over here is still going to hurt 5,000 people, but it's going to be good for 1,000,000 people. A utilitarian would view that and say, this has the greatest quantifiable results. So it is correct to do that action. The next we need to know is ethical egoism. Ethical egoism says that the action that benefits me is the choice, is the right moral choice. And so an ethical egoist would be the extreme individualist who would say, as long as I benefit from this, it really doesn't matter how I got there or what the other options were. And this is falling under the category of moral relativism. Now, your entire worldview paper that you're going to be writing soon is going to be based around this idea of relativism. Moral relativism says that in ethical systems, right and wrong are not absolutes, but are relative either to one's personal preferences or to a culture. And you're going to need to know that key term and each of those little distinctions when it comes to your worldview paper. These can all be found on your companion and study guide, along with many other terms you're going to need to know. I wanted to point out just these few key terms because they're most relevant to the ethical discussion that we're in right now. But you're going to need to know a good majority of the terms that are on that sheet. So perhaps it would be a good idea to take some time this week and look through that companion and study guide. I'm enjoying the journey and I hope you are as well. Let's continue on.